You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion of the world.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
All is right with the world. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, to this impromptu version of the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. The host, Mr. Green. And this is following up the live stream of the WWE on YouTube, where they just have gone over the 32 participants who will be involved in the Mae Young Classic. I shouldn't even say will be involved, because they are involved. The classic is going on right now. That will take place over 2 days. I'd actually forgotten that this is the weekend for it. This taking place with the 13th and 14th. Also to be noted is that the Shine will be taking a tournament there as well to crown a new champion in their organization, and I believe that will be the 14th and 15th. So you got that happening too. But getting back to the statement earlier that all is right with the world, I am happy that within the 32 named individuals in the tournament, Mercedes Martinez, the Latina sensation, has made the cut. And anybody that's listened to this for any number of time has known that I have really sung the praises of Mercedes Martinez for quite a bit. And the term that I use, that the fact that she hasn't made it into a major promotion is a crime, and it would be a bigger crime if she doesn't made it into this tournament. But that's all solved now. She is part of it, and I'm very, very pleased personally to see that happen. So now I can go back through and talk about some of the people who have shown up and how many guesses I actually did get correct in my picks, which were done some time ago. Thank you for those who participated and left their comments underneath. Really appreciate those. Some people had some really great comments there to talk about the Mae Young Classic as we now know it. At the time, it was just the women's tournament. Now it has a name attached to it. Speaking of which, it came up to me that like, why did they name it the Mae Young Classic? I mean, and I guess that was kind of brought to light because some people felt like, well, what did Mae Young do within the history of the WWE? What kind of real significant standing did she have within the WWE? I mean, outside of the Attitude Era stuff, not really that much, quite frankly. I mean, let's be honest. She didn't do a lot. She wasn't a champion or anything like that. I mean, she was essentially the sidekick, I guess, if you want to call it that, of the Fabulous Moolah, who we all know. I mean, Moolah clearly was the bigger name, so why would it be named the Fabulous Moolah Classic or something like that? If I had to take a guess, I like clearly it's just because Mae Young was the better or more liked individual between the two. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. When you're talking about WWE, it's about who likes you, and I think it's safe to say that they had a far better relationship, or at least Mae Young was universally liked. Like I haven't heard one bad thing about that woman from anybody up and down the card. Now, you can't really say that about Moolah. I mean, you've heard stories of her pimping women out, extorting them for cash, and you get signed to a contract, you're gonna still kick back 10 or 15% to me, for your life. It wasn't like, you do this for 5 years and then you're free. No, for the lifetime of your contract, you're gonna pay me some money. So yeah, I think overall it probably just came down to a case of we just like her. we like her above and beyond the fabulous Moolah. But that's neither here nor there. So in any case, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go through some of the comments that were left on our page, or I should say our channel, with the previous video, who should be in the women's tournament. And again, I want to thank those who took the time to leave their comments underneath. Um, Now that we actually have a list of names, and there's no longer a possibility, we have a list of names of women who are all in there and competing as I am recording this. And it should be also noted that I actually recorded a full-on review of the first and second set of names released that I never put out, that I never uploaded to any platform or nothing like that. It's just kind of sitting in my hard drive right now. And I decided at some point that, what, I'm just gonna wait. Rather than put this out there, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna sit on it and not worry about dealing with trying to hit the breaking news and all that stuff like that, which is always good. I mean, if you can do it, but it's so much work for me. It's so much work. So rather than do that, I was like, I'm just gonna chill out and I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna see when they produce all the names at one time. Then I can go through it, and that's happened. And I watched the live stream. I saw JR and I saw Lita doing I guess the opening commentary and the introductions. And if you go back and you listen to that first video, I told you then they are going to take what Impact Wrestling did with their Knockouts tournament, and they're going to do it 20 times better. And damn it if they didn't do that already. I mean, I haven't even seen a match, and they've already exceeded what Impact was. One of my biggest complaints with the Knockouts Knockdown tournament is it takes so long when they introduce everybody, and it slows everything down. I was like, this is so boring. I mean, I understand that you got to introduce the people, and you got to get them into the fan base at large. You got to let them know who they are, where they come from, and all that stuff like that. But and I want to say, after you listen to this, go onto the WWE YouTube channel and find the Mae Young Classic live stream so you can see what I'm talking about. They had 32 names in there, and that, I'm not going to say it flew by, but it felt faster than anything I've watched in the knockouts, knockdowns, because they would go there and they would, what's your name, where you're from, and then they have to talk, and they'd have to give them, the mic and all that stuff, and just doing that alone was like 20 minutes long. The entirety of them introducing 32 women maybe took them 19, 20 minutes. That's double the amount of women with the same amount of time. And you had a lively crowd, that some of the fans out there recognized who some of the people were, and that's when you got some really good fans out there, that follow I can't say the product, but followed women's wrestling out on the independent scene. You had people that were popping up there like Candice LeRae, Tessa Blanchard, Nicole Savoy, Shanna Baszler, and the crowd basically popped for them. They popped. They were happy to see those people coming in there. They were happy to see them get their break or their just due. And back to the comparison between that and the Knockouts Knockdown tournaments, it just was so, the production of it was done so well. And, not bashing the tournament from Impact Wrestling, Global Force Wrestling, whatever the heck they call themselves these days. But please take note of that, because I mean, there's no reason that this should surpass what happened in the knockdown tournament. Although I'm sure that it will, but we'll move on. I just wanted to put that out there. It's like I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. I knew they were going to get to this point, but they were going to produce this so much better. And 20 minutes into it, I'm already feeling like this is a better production. But it is the WWE. So anyway, um, getting to some of the comments here on our page from the previous video, I want to get to one that I really liked at the time, because I totally agreed with him. And this is from Phil's Fan 08. And the comment was, I suspect there will be a heavy international contingent based on the cruiser tourney. I agree with several of your names. The people I would like to see included Deanna, that being Deanna Purrazzo, Su Yung, Santana Garrett, Nicole Savoy, Tony Storm, Rachel Ellering, Kiera Hogan, Karen Q, Britt Baker, LuFisto. I see this tourney as an extended tryout. Unfortunately, some of the more veteran talent like Mercedes, the WWE is familiar with them and probably looking in another direction. I am expecting that the signed talent like Kimber, Heidi, Mary Dobson, Andrea will also be in the tournament, and they will probably add a veteran name or two like they did in the cruiser tourney, like with Tajiri and Brian Kendrick. My guess is Melina and Victoria, which was a really great comment at the time. For somebody who has no inside information, he's just taking a guess based off of what was going on. And yeah, I agreed. I agree with him. But now we can go down his list and we can legitimately say that Santana Garrett, he was correct on. Nicole Savoy, Tony Storm, Rachel Ellering, he was correct on all of those. Um, Mercedes, he kind of ruled out, which I'm happy that he got that wrong. Sorry, Phil's Fan 08. I mean, like I said, I was pulling for Mercedes, and I'm happy that she's in there. Uh, he was expecting that the signed talent like Kimberly, Heidi Lovelace, Mary Dobson, and Andrea, who've all changed their names, will be in the tournament, and he's absolutely correct, as was I, because I said that in the previous video. It was the reason that I didn't include them in my picks to begin with. I was like, it's very likely that the girls that are already on the NXT roster, a few of them are going to make it in there anyway. And name changes aside, that is absolutely correct. They're already in it, so it was no need of even bringing it up. The one thing that I thought that he was going to be right with, and I agreed with it at the time, and I'm really surprised that it didn't happen, is that there was no veteran name added on to the tournament. As he said, like with Tajiri and Brian Kendrick. And I guess we should clarify that, because technically speaking, Mercedes is the veteran, and Sergey, I think I'm pronouncing her name right, but they would be considered the veterans. These are the girls that have been in the game for like 10 plus years. They got miles on them, so they would be considered the veterans. But what he's saying is the veteran representative that have been in the WWE, like Melina and Victoria. Now we don't have any of those. We don't have a Trish Stratus. We don't have Melina. We don't have a Victoria. Mickey James didn't come back down to the tournament or nothing like that. So the veteran contingent is noticeably absent. It would have been nice to see them in there, but I don't think that uh, that was in the cards necessarily. Um, that was a conversation that actually came up not all that long ago. It's like, why do you not see uh, these kind of big name women stars come back? Well, the WWE has kind of created this um, not ideal, but they've created this whole thing that once you retire from the WWE, there's really no other place to go. The days of people like, okay, I'm done with this promotion, let me leave and go to WCW, or let me leave and go to AWA or NWA or Crockett or something like that. Those days are gone, man. It just doesn't exist anymore, and it especially doesn't exist for the women. Most of them that you've seen in the WWE over the last couple of years, once they stepped out of that company, they were pretty much done with pro wrestling. That came to a screeching halt. Um, it just went straight off into retirement. Beth Phoenix retired. Michelle McCool retired. Trish Stratus retired. Lita, very few of them actually just kept going just because I like wrestling. You could say Mickey James because she never really, aside from her aside from her pregnancy, um, and a little bit of time that she had to recover from that, she never really stopped. Victoria and Gail Kim, who recently announced her retirement, but she never stopped wrestling, barring injury. She never really stopped doing it. But those are rarities. Those girls are, exceptions. For the majority, for the better portion of it, you got a lot of people who just simply, you know, there's just no point in me keeping this going once the WWE is, I don't want to say done with me, but once they're done with the WWE, whichever way you want to take it, they just choose not to be bothered. So, I guess it's all of that to say, I guess it's not that surprising to not see a veteran. It would have been nice. It would have been nice, Phil's fan 08, to see, one of those veterans meant to come back, but that ain't happening. Okay, so moving on. Some of the other names that were mentioned that unfortunately are not there. Super Pereira was mentioned by Shamar Perkins, who kind of pops in and out on the channel, so you want to thank him for that. Santana Garrett, of course, mentioned already. She is there. The current WoW champion, or at least as far as the TV tapings are concerned, she has not lost that title as of yet. America Strong, no, she doesn't come in. That's from Kevin White. He named off Santana Garrett America. Keon Easterling named off Sue Young. It'd have been great to see Sue Young in there, but Sue, and I think Sue was one of my picks too, and I'm really surprised she didn't show up. Scroll down here a little bit. Uh, Mia Yim and Awesome Kong. Mia Yim is there, and I don't think I had Mia as a pick of mine. Quite honestly, I'm thinking back because I remembered the Dollhouse, and I know I put the Dollhouse down as potential things, but I wasn't sure. You know what? I remember why now, because I think when I did that originally, Mia Yim was still perceived as under contract to Impact Wrestling. So she was disqualified from my list based on that. She was disqualified because I didn't include people who were looked at as being already under contract to some other promotion. But Mia Yim is there. Awesome Kong, not so much. We're not going to see Karma come back in there. But the good news is, if you want to see Awesome Kong or Karma, you can go into Netflix and you can watch her. You can watch her in the Glow series as the Welfare Queen. So she's making her comeback, and not so much a comeback, but she's making her transition into acting, and she did really good on there. I must say, I should do a review on Glow now that I think about it. And you know what? When I watched that series, I didn't even know that was her. In the first episode, at least, I just kept saying to myself, "Damn, she looks familiar. What movie do I know her from?" But it wasn't a movie. I knew her from, wrestling. So there you have it. How about that? What? Say Twizelf. I think that's how you pronounce it. If I'm pronouncing your screen name wrong, I apologize. But Say Twizelf put in Hannah, Jade, which we're going to just put down as Miriam, Mercedes Martinez, Cheerleader Melissa, and LaFisto. Well, you got two of them clearly right. Mia Yim and Mercedes Martinez have made it. They made the walk. They did the introduction. Happy to see them both. And as I'm thinking about it, Jade was an interesting case, and even though I didn't put her on the list, I do remember seeing an interview with her where somebody was pretty much asked her point blank, "Are you going to be in this tournament?" And much like a lot of people, I should say, much like the Hardys did before they popped up at WrestleMania, she danced around that. It's like, well, I can't really say. I'm not at liberty to say. And it's almost a surefire bet that once they go off into, well, I'm not at liberty to say, they're going to be there. You know, I remember hearing her say that. I was like, yeah, she's going to show up. So yeah, she's there telling people that I'm not at liberty to say at this point probably isn't uh, the best way to keep that. Uh, who do we have? Here's one that I wish was right. Leroy Maxwell. Me and Leroy both put our bets on Casey Carlisle. Casey was one of my picks to appear in the tournament. Unfortunately, she is not there, and I thought that she would be a really good pick, personality wise, uh, skill set in the ring. She's kind of an old school, hard hitting punch and kick. I mean, if I had to compare her to anything, it would be comparative to the revival. No flips, just fists. She's a down and dirty girl. So it would have been nice to see her in the tournament. I guess they wanted something with a little bit more flash or perhaps a little bit more international flavor to it. But yeah, Leroy Maxwell the second. I was with you, brother. I wanted to see Casey in there too, but that just wasn't happening, unfortunately. Gregory Reed put down Dementia DeRose, who I did bring up in the original video. Um, and I might as well go ahead and address a few of these right now because there's a couple of them kind of peppered around the comment section. Those being Dementia Rose, the Party Princess, Kayla Lynn, Kiera Hogan, Super Pereira, and I think one or two others that were on there that all of these are names that I really, really like. And I had the opportunity to either see and or call matches of these ladies, which I'm very thankful for, by the way. For each one of them that either called the Women's Pro Wrestling Network out to their event to cover their match to make sure that some cameras were on them and that they were able to be seen. I want to thank you publicly for that. But I also said in the previous video that as good as those ladies are, I felt as if the WWE was going to be looking for something else at the time, because Kayla Lynn just won the reality wrestling women's championship. Kara Hogan won the Spirit Championship at WSU. Dementia Rose defeated Mia Yim to win the Big Time Wrestling Championship, Women's Championship. And Super Pereira has really made a phenomenal name for herself. Going up to Canada and to Mexico. I mean, all of these ladies within the last year have really, really just spread their wings and just gone off the charts as far as their careers are concerned. And some of them been in it longer than others, but I think it comes down to what the WWE was looking for at the time, and that's not a slight on them, but I do fully believe that they will all get their break, in the future. And if I had to bank it on anything, it would be that, because I know there's some of them here that have wrestled longer than a few of those girls that's actually in the tournament. Some of them may have been doing it for 2 or 3 years, whereas you got uh, a Dimension of Rose is somebody that's been, a little bit longer than that. But, that's just kind of that right place, right time thing. But Dementia's gotten so good. Kiera's gotten phenomenally good. Super Prayer, Kayla Lynn, they've gotten really good. And I have no doubt whatsoever that they're going to get there. It just wasn't, the window for this just wasn't now. It just wasn't the time for that. Um, Getting down to the nitty gritty of this all, let's go back to the list that I put out of who I got right and who I got well, who didn't make it. I'm not gonna say who I got wrong because there's like hundreds of women out there, so can't really get all of those in. Mercedes Martinez, we've already discussed that. The Latina sensation is in. I am pleased as punch that she's going to be in there. I also picked Mickey Knuckles. I wanted to see her in the tournament. She did not make it. And I might have put her as a wild card in that last one because I do know a little bit about her personal situation. I know I gave honorable mention to a couple of girls, including like Rock and Roll Roxy and others like that. And I know when I mentioned Roxy, I said that's going to be a long shot because she has a family. She has life outside of wrestling, and I also feel like Mickey Knuckles has life outside of wrestling, and that could have been a large part of the reason why she's not in it. But it'd have been nice. It'd have been really nice to see her do it because I know that she's certainly talented enough to be there. I also put down as a wild card pick Kiera Hogan. We just discussed that, and she's not in it, but she could have well have been. Deanna Prazo, I put her down. She didn't make it into the tournament either, and I put that largely because she had been everywhere. She'd been on Impact Wrestling. She'd been in Women of Honor. She'd been, excuse me, in WWE. She had been all over the place, and I thought that she kind of had her foot in the door as it is. Marty Bell was one of my picks, and she is there. Marty has made the cut. Not surprising at all, actually. She's been doing this thing for a long time. Same thing with Mia Yim. The Dollhouse represent. Neither one of them are any sort of shock to me. The only thing that was even kind of remotely shocking is that Mia Yim was in there because, like I said, when I originally made my picks, she was considered under contract to Impact Wrestling, so I wasn't too sure about that. Um, Veda Scott and Eva Lise were picks that I had. Kind of surprised. Well, I'm not gonna say surprised, but they didn't make the cut. Would have liked to seen them in there. Thunder Rosa, I love that name. Lucha Underground's Cobra Moon. She has been really kind of filling up her dance card as far as the independent scene is concerned. So maybe I shouldn't be as surprised as I am that she isn't in there. Thunder Rosa is a really good wrestler, but she's kind of like the Young Bucks. She's in demand. So I mean, she may be getting some really good money out there on the Indies and may not need going to the WWE. She may like controlling her schedule. But one person I did get right in there was Tessa Blanchard. I felt like she was a shoe in. And I know I remember putting it down that way, is that Tessa Blanchard shoe in to be in this tournament, largely because she already has connections to the to those grounds, and the WWE likes that. They like having um, a name that you can bank on. And Blanchard is a name that you can bank on. The girl's a third generation wrestler, and most of us know her from her father, um, Four Horsemen WWE Hall of Famer Tully Blanchard, and her stepfather, Tully's greatest rival, Magnum TA. So yeah, I mean it was just like if you could hand deliver a wrestler into the Mae Young Classic, this has to be it. Su Young, the Undead Bride. I thought that she also was a shoe in just on her character of the Undead Bride. I thought that she was as good a pick as you could get because I thought that the WWE loved that type of stuff. Now, granted, this isn't taking place on the main roster, so that Undead Bride thing may not work as well in that environment. But I thought they would, they might give it a little bit of a slide to let her in there. And also, she's connected with Rich Swann, so you know, you'd think that she'd have made it in just for that. Not saying that you're banking on nepotism of any sort or relationships that you have, but it happens. Candice LeRae was one that I picked, and she is there. Candice LeRae is in the tournament. Um, Also picked out Ariel Monroe, largely for the same reasons that I picked Su Young, and neither one of them are there, which is a little bit surprising to me. Uh, Ariel specifically because she's in Florida, So it's not like it wouldn't have been all that difficult for her. She could have just drove on up the street and she'd have been right there available for the tournament. She could have did her 2 days and left. Um, Here's one that I'm not surprised about at all. That's the Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler. Um, I made note that the WWE would probably put her in if for no other reason that she's gotten really, really good. She has gone around the world. She wrestled in Stardom. She's getting this pro wrestling thing down. I know that's kind of a it could be considered a hard transition out of one sport to the next, but she's really getting this thing down. And the last time I saw her wrestle, she was putting it down on two different women at the same time in the ring. You know, Kaylee Ray and the Duchess Azali. She whooped them both at one time, and you know she's got a name. She is part of the four horsewomen of MMA. Baszler is a name that people will recognize, and you know how the WWE loves their names with people that you can recognize. So her being in there, not shocking to me at all. That was that's a pick that I'm certainly claiming right there. Surprisingly enough, Baszler, Martinez, and Nicole Savoy, all three have made their appearance as one of the 32 women involved in this tournament, and all three have been running together in recent years as the trifecta on the independent circuit. So that should be interesting. Whether I doubt that they'll acknowledge it. I doubt that they'll even bring it up. Although I will say I am surprised that I forget who he said it for, but JR did bring up Shimmer. I want to say it was for Mercedes because uh, in fact, now that I think about it, Shimmer is represented kind of strong in this whole thing. You got Mercedes, who's the Shimmer champion, or at least last I checked. You got Tessa, who is still one half of the Shimmer tag team champions as part of Mount Tessa with Vanessa Craven. And Savoy just lost the Heart of Shimmer championship not all that long ago. So, I mean, you got a significant amount of women who have come from Shimmer in some form or fashion being represented here. So, you know, big shout out to them. Bravo to Shimmer. Lufisto, who I gotta say, these last two, I'm a little disappointed that they didn't have any connection to this tournament. Lufisto would have been nice to see her pop up in this thing. She's another one, you know, kind of along the lines of the Latina sensation, where I'm like, okay, she's been doing this long enough to where she deserves a break. Put that woman in there. She needs to be in this thing. Same thing with Casey Carlisle. Carlisle, you know, is a really good talent. I said it earlier. She's probably not the skill set that they want. Not in terms of, you know, I'm not saying that she's bad, but they probably want something maybe with a little bit more flash and less of the southern wrestling, as if you will. Uh, but Carlisle is really good, and she is a very comfortable heel on the mic. Um, it's a shame. It's a shame that she's not on there. So you got those names. I got a fair amount of them right, and uh, I'm pleased with that. I'll put it that way. And as stated, you got your girls from NXT who have already been announced. And along with the ones that I have on here, on my list, I had Kimberly and Heidi Lovelace and Andrea, who, again, all of them have changed their names. But you have the former Ruby Mobs, who is in the tournament as well. I believe, what's her name now? Lacey Evers? Is that it? And I know that that's the one real connecting thing here is that all of them have changed their names, so what we knew them as no longer exists. But okay, let's see here. I had to pull up my little list. All right, so we got Sarah Logan, who we formerly knew as Crazy Mary Dobson. She was already signed. We know that. Abby Layeth, who is Kimberly, she was already signed now. Riot, Ruby Riott is not going to be in there. She's been kind of, highlighted on TV already, so I guess it's not that big a deal for her, or as we know, the former Heidi Lovelace. And Lacey Evans is what she goes by, and I knew her as Ruby Mobbs. So you got some of those. A couple other names that need to be brought up is Jazzy Gilbert, the alpha female, who I really wanted to get an interview with her, but I never had the chance. I could never get it at a time where it would have been convenient. I mean, her living in Germany and me living in Atlanta, probably not the best thing. Kari Hojo, who is now Kari Zane, she's there, probably one of the front runners or the top seeds in this thing. Well, we saw Bianca Blair. She won the qualifying round. I think that to be involved in the tournament. So you got a good amount of names. One that I was really kind of surprised about was the former Princess Miranda, who was part of, maybe not put that in past that, who is part of Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. And she's also somebody I was trying to get for an interview at some point in time, and we attempted to do it. The paths the streams didn't cross, and I couldn't get her. And who knows, her being signed or getting approved to go into the tournament may have been it, because all of this is recent. It wasn't like it was all that long ago. This may be 2 months back at the most. But Miranda, I forget her last name, she is in there as well. So you've got a huge contingent of people that's just all over the place, representing a couple of different countries and a couple of different locations, representing indie wrestling. I mean, it's phenomenal, and really I can't wait to see it. The production has already started off. You're hearing Jim Ross and Lita give the breakdown. Well, the background, I shouldn't say the breakdown, the background of these people as they're walking in. The Parade of Champions is what it's called. So if you're online and you're looking for it and you're trying to see, okay, where can I find this video, go to WWE and look for WWE Mae Young Classic Parade of Champions, and that should bring it right on up. And you can see all of them make the entrance, and you can see all 32. And it's not going to be a pain in the ass to sit there and watch it. Like I said, it's not like it drags out and goes slow and none of that stuff like that. It moves along fairly quickly. So I would encourage you, if you haven't done it so far, to go and do that. I forgot to mention Andrea is also in there. I forget what they've changed her name to at this point, but she was always good when I saw her, especially for this body transformation. I mean, she has had a huge body transformation. My goodness, she was incredible what she did herself, and since then she's just been phenomenal inside the ring. She's done a really good job, and I'm interested in seeing what she and all these girls are going to do within the tournament. So now, the last thing that we got to look forward to, we got the names announced. So the next question up within the tournament is who's paired off against who. That's going to be really interesting to see how this thing is going to match up and who's going to match out against each other. Bracketology is what we call it. Now, I don't have any particular brackets that I'm looking for, and to go off into, well, I hope that so-and-so gets in so-and-so's face between 32 different women would probably be a little pointless. However, I will say there is one match that I'm looking for that I hope that they do. It ain't got to be first round, but I hope that they cross paths at some point within the course of this tournament. And that will be Mercedes Martinez, Kairi Sane. If that happens at some point within this tournament, I am going to be a happy man. That's all I need. You give me that, I'm good to go. I think that will be a kick-ass match. So, time will tell if I'm correct. All right, folks. thank you for tuning in to this particular podcast. I appreciate you coming in and giving me a little bit of your time to go over the predictions that were right, the predictions that were wrong. Hey, this is the rights and wrongs of pro wrestling, and what can you say? That fits the bill right there. So until the next time in the next podcast or the next interview, be sure to stay tuned and go to WPN Wrestling for Twitter and Instagram on our pages. And if you are not a part of following us on Facebook and or YouTube, then put in Women's Pro Wrestling Network, all one word, into your search bar, and then click the like, follow, and or subscribe button for your particular platform, and you will be able to see all of our stuff, top to bottom, interviews, podcasts, on-camera documentaries, and etc. Whenever those notifications come up. And specifically with YouTube, if you're subscribing to YouTube, go and hit the subscribe button, but also hit that little bell so that the sound icons are around it, so you get the notifications when there are new videos that go up. All right, that's it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hearing our thoughts on the Mae Young Classic that's upcoming. And believe me, when it's done, we will have full reviews, top to bottom, for all the matches and all the matchups. So until then, folks, take care.